Hi, everyone. I'm Nikki Sanchez, a program manager with Magic, and I'm thrilled to be here with two stars of our spring 2025 session. Joining me today are Aadya Gari, a seventh grader from Rancho Milpitas Middle School, and her mentor, Mona Kashyap, currently pursuing her MBA at Columbia Business School. Now, before we get into all the good stuff, I just want to say what a fantastic presentation, Aadya. Music Catcher was clever, joyful, and sharp. I loved that you merged rhythm with logic and creativity, and it was like seeing a bridge between the two things that you love. And Mona, your mentorship clearly played a key role in helping that vision come to life. Let's start with some quick intros. Aadya, can you tell us your name, your grade, and your school?
Okay, so my name is Aadya Gari. I'm in seventh grade and I go to Rancho Milpitas Middle School.
Very good. And Mona, could you introduce yourself and share a little bit about your professional background?
Of course. My name is Mona Kashyap. I've been mentoring with Magic now for I think almost maybe 4 or 5 years, and I really enjoyed working with Aadya this spring. My background, I prior to coming to business school, I was working in tech as a software engineer. I've studied computer science in my undergrad. I also obtained my master's degree in computer science a few years back. And now I'm doing my MBA at Columbia Business School, focusing on tech and strategy and finance.
Wonderful. Aadya, lucky, lucky mentee. So this is meant to be a conversation, so please feel free to chime in on each other's answers if something resonates or sparks a story. Let's just talk and celebrate everything that you created together. So, Aadya, I'm going to start with you. You mentioned that in your presentation that you were already learning C, and then you dove into Python for this project. That's kind of like learning to play a new instrument while writing a song at the same time. So, what was that like for you, balancing kind of that learning curve with actually having to build something from scratch at the same time?
hmm Yeah, so like at school, my elective's tech. So for the first semester of tech, our teacher focused on C programming, like most of the semester. So we learned like the basics of C and did a couple projects. So I kind of had like background in coding. And then when I started Python, it was like definitely different from C, but I was so thankful that I learned C beforehand instead of starting completely from scratch, because at least like C, like it's a programming language and it's like pretty similar to Python, so it was easier to get a hang on Python on the concepts because they weren't too different from C.
Awesome. That's so great that you have that foundation. One thing I noticed was how much care you put into the user experience, how it would actually feel for someone to learn through your game. How did your own experience as a student help shape the design of Music Catcher?
Yeah, so as like a student, like I've been playing guitar for really like 2 years, maybe three, it's like something like that. I've been playing guitar for a while, and it was really important to find like a good teacher and good resources for to learn guitar. So I thought that like as a game it would be really cool to help students learn, because I mentioned that learning things through a game than like a textbook feels a lot easier to people my age. So I figured that making a game and like as a student it would resonate better with kids my age.
Awesome. Um, so debugging is one of those things that teaches you patience and grit, whether you want to learn it or not. Was there a moment when something just wouldn't work and you had to step back and totally rethink your approach?
Yeah, I remember I coded the like the game, and then I was going through the errors, and there was one error that kept on popping up on everything. Like I thought I solved it once, and then it would pop up somewhere else. Thought I solved it again, and it would pop up somewhere else. I remember being very like irritated. I was like, I can't do this. I can't solve it. So I just like shut my computer, went away for a couple hours, and I went out, and then I came back, and I was like, oh, that's why. I, like, realized I was like, "Wait, that's what's been happening." It was so simple. But I think, like, once I was sitting there for, like, an hour trying to debug and, like, do this, it wasn't helping. So when I went and I came back, I was like, "Oh, that's much easier than I thought it was."
I completely empathize with that. Awesome. Well, I'm going to ask you a couple questions, Mona. When Aadya first came to you with this idea, what went through your mind? Like what about the project or the way she approached it got you excited as a mentor?
Um, I will say coming to the idea was kind of a process. I remember something I always do with my mentees in our first session is, introductions, trying to get to know each other better. And Adia immediately right off the bat shared about her background in school, like academics, what she's been learning in school right now, also the programming class she did last year. But she didn't share right away like stuff she did outside of school. So that's something I really dug into with her, was asking what excites her, what she's passionate about. So that's how I learned that she also enjoys dancing. She likes music, guitar, piano, Bollywood dance. So after learning about those things, I was like, how could, and she had also said she wanted to do something in computer science. She wanted to continue learning about programming. And so that's when I was like, let's see how we can combine your interests outside of school with your interests in school. And we brainstormed for quite a while. And then I think finally we decided that we like made our list and ranked the ideas. And Adia decided this was the idea she wanted to go with, that one that most excited her. So that was our process. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes you gotta dig to even we go so fast in our lives, we're like, what do I like? What is fun? Sometimes. So thinking back on your session together, what's something that you saw really shift or grow in Adia, technically or personally, that stood out to you?
Yeah. I think when it comes to programming and also just like life in general, you have to be a very good problem solver. And I think something Adia just touched on in her previous response, it's very important to, when you face a challenge, you should not, give up. You have to go back to it. So even if you take a pause, you do want to go back to it and see how you can overcome it. So that was something I've noticed her growing, like in facing challenges and, coming back and overcoming them. So that's, I think, a really great life skill. So I was very proud of her for that. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. Resilience is huge to learn, especially at your age, Adia. Awesome. So before we wrap up, I'd love to hear from both of you on this. If you could go back to your very first session together, knowing everything you know now, what advice would you give each other or even yourself at the start of this journey? Adia, you can go first, but take a moment to pause if you need to.
I think that, like, at our first session, I would tell myself, I would be like, "Okay, make sure you pay attention in tech more." Um, make sure that when I had to learn like a new coding language, that like do all the lessons properly, go over all the projects, and be prepared to learn a new language that you'll enjoy.
Very good, Mona.
Yeah, I can go now. Yeah, agree with what Adia said. And also, I guess, timelines always shift during the process of working during your magic sessions. And so it's hard to tell, how far you're going to get depending on where you start. And I think that's something I've improved on working with my mentees. So even when I was working with Adia from our first session, I tried to gauge, where she was at with her learning for programming and how far we might get with like a programming project. And so, but I think maybe I would have had her start a little bit earlier with like Code Academy, for example, in Python. In the first, I think, 2 sessions, we were still exploring other alternatives for learning Python. And I learned after like our second session that Code Academy had a pretty structured course for Python that she could use. So that's what we ended up going with for the rest of our sessions. But I think just like starting a little bit earlier would have been great. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, this was such a joy. Thank you both so much, Aadya. It's clear that, once Mona dug a little bit, you brought your whole self, your love of music, your curiosity, and your willingness to try to the project. And Mona, the way you guided and supported her made a huge difference. So thank you both for sharing your experience and your brilliance with us.